Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Success Partnership third community learning session. Today's session is called The Key to Recovering Learning Loss is Career-Corrected Learning with Tracy Bryan from the Bridge of Southern New Mexico. We're delighted to have her. I'm going to run through a few housekeeping things before we get started. First of all, if we could just have you do a quick introduction in the chat so we know who all is with us today. I'm Lori Martinez, Executive Director of Engage New Mexico. Welcome. We're very happy to have you. Just a couple reminders. We want to let you all know that you will be muted during the presentation portion of the session and then unmuted for the Q&A. If you would save questions for the end, if you have burning questions that need to be answered during, go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll try to tend to them. The other thing is that with these community learning sessions, we are cramming a lot of information into 1 hour. And so we have the presentation time, but then we've also been trying to leave time for Q&A and discussion as well. There's been some really rich content that's been shared during this time. So just bearing in mind the time, if you could just be mindful of keeping your questions and comments to 1 to 2 minutes. We do have timekeepers in the background. So if you're talking and you're going for a while and you hear the alarm go off in the background, just use that as your little kind of internal ping to wrap up quickly, please. We don't want to quash discussion, but we're also trying to be really respectful of everybody's time. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Summer Mitchell, who's our communications coordinator for the Success Partnership, and she'll talk to you a bit about these community learning sessions, and then we'll get started.
Thanks, Lori. And thanks for the intro. I always forget to introduce myself, so check that box. So this is our third community learning session. And so for those of you who don't know, these learning sessions came out of a desire to really want to understand what's going on in our community within the K-12 through the kinder through career spectrum, since we have launched the kinder through career coalition. So it's a way for us to make sure that we as organizations and also the community has an opportunity to learn from industry professionals about what they're doing to transform education in this community. And the hope is that, the more we know about what everyone is doing to make moves in education, the easier it will be for us to find how we can assist in those roles. We can find a useful place for ourselves rather instead of creating an initiative all our own. There are people that are already doing great work in this community, and if we can attach ourselves to that great work and drive resources to the work that's already happening, we have a better opportunity to create that collective impact for our community. So that's why we're doing this, and we're so glad you all could make it. And I think Lori, is it back to you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that, Summer. Well, it is my honor to introduce to you today, I'm sure many of you know her already, but Miss Tracy Bryan, who is the President and CEO of the Bridge of Southern New Mexico. Just a little bit about her if you're not aware already. The Bridge of Southern New Mexico is a nonprofit that brings together Doña Ana County's business, education, economic development, and government communities together in the interest of increasing high school and college completion and building a skilled and ready workforce to spur economic growth. Tracy is a leading voice in the state in developing career pathways, strategic workforce development, and championing student achievement through high quality dual credit courses to propel them towards college completion faster, cheaper, and with greater likelihood of success. Tracy holds leadership positions with New Mexico First, Engage New Mexico here with the Success Partnership, Arrowhead Investors Advisory Network, the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. That's a larger term, sorry, the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas Business and Community Advisory Council. Ooh, that's a mouthful. And chairs the New Mexico State Workforce Board. So please, everybody, welcome Tracy.
Well, thank you guys for having me. And I'm so thankful that Engage is really taking leadership in several significant ways. Information is power, right? Information is power. If you don't know, how can you take advantage of things that are in our community? How can you build relationships with people who can partner with you on where you're trying to go. So many of us care about the exact same things. And when we bring our collective resources to the table to address challenges or to do new and cool things, that's what makes Doña County very distinct and unique in New Mexico. So a lot of the things I'm going to share with you when we talk about this subject of why career-connected learning is important to address learning loss, you need to understand Doña County is way ahead of almost everybody else in the state. And I like to be proud of Doña County. So there we go. All right, so I'm going to share screens, and I'm going to walk you through a presentation. And it is good that we are recording it because this is going to go by fast. Okay, so the best way to think about the cradle to career continuum for an individual is to begin with the end in mind, right? And so as we talk today, I want to talk about how we have uniquely equipped our community with a much clearer path to some career destinations. It's not exhaustive, but they're absolutely the occupations and the industries that are vital to economic development here. They provide incredible career opportunities, both from an experiential perspective and from an income perspective, and really how we are all working together to accomplish, academic outcomes that have economic impact for Doña County. Oops, sorry. So it's important for us when we think about talking to students to understand what's the road, right? I start with middle school because, elementary, everybody's still having fun and you're not really thinking about the future that much. But we're really starting to see students are really kind of thinking about their futures around middle school. And now we have career and technical education programming that goes into middle, so that as students are thinking about these things, they have opportunities to explore and become exposed to some careers or industries. So, you're going to make some decisions in high school that will allow you to continue toward if you have likely career destinations. Of course, not every 18-year-old knows what they want to be when they grow up, and that's fine too. But as people start to become aware of things, you have opportunities to explore, to get exposed, to do a little hands-on learning. Of course, college, and when I say college, I mean community college and or university. There's multiple destinations when we talk about that, and they all have value. It just depends on the end goal. What is their connectedness to career success? So for our students, it's really important for us to focus on the real finish line. College is not a destination. And I'm a mom. I did it too, right? You got to go to college. You got to go to college. You got to go to college. But if you have that conversation disconnected from the career destination, then you end up spending a lot of time and a lot of money that you might not have had to. Career exploration in college is incredibly expensive. And it is directly why we have a $2 trillion, can you believe this, $2 trillion student loan debt in our country, with so many people who are unable to pay for their college loans because they spent tons more on their occupation or on their degree, and they don't have an occupation that is in a position to pay that back. So college is not a destination, but it can be an important part of the journey. So what we know in New Mexico is that the jobs that require high school or less are less and less. They are literally less and less. Some level of college, and that can be a skilled certificate. It can be a Cisco systems, credential that you get that's a computer thing. It could be an Amazon Web Service credential. It could be a welding certificate. It could be a CDL license. Things that require something beyond high school and above. Those jobs are more and more and more, especially as technological disruption really throws itself into the mix. This is a report that was done by the Borderplex Alliance talking about the broader Borderplex region, but it looked at all of us as El Paso, as New Mexico, Southern New Mexico, and Doña County specifically, and then Juarez, Mexico. But what they're seeing when they look at our labor market and they look at our industries is that technological disruption is coming. And the vast majority of our jobs could be affected by the increased use of artificial intelligence, of technology. So a lot of our jobs are going to be affected. And it's important to know that when we think about talking about the future for students. We already knew that that education, the more education you have, the least likely you are to be unemployed. And that was true during the pandemic. And for a long, long time, this chart is why we told students what we told them. We said, you got to go get more education to make more money over the course of your lifetime. That lovely little stair step shows you, oh, look, your lifetime earnings will increase as you increase your education. The problem was that never looked like the job market. The majority of jobs do not require a four-year degree or higher. A lot of them do. But again, if you're thinking about your career destination, you can know these things. But 40% of jobs are in the middle, more than high school, less than four-year degree. And so we really hollowed out the number of people who were equipped for these middle skilled, technical skilled jobs. And subsequently, what's happened is these jobs pay pretty dang well because there's so few people who are capable of fulfilling them. And so I played this out. I wanted to see, is this right? Lifetime earnings. Does that match up to reality? This slide shows you lifetime earnings for the first three. They're four-year degrees. You need to have a four-year degree to be a social worker, to be in communications, or to be in nutrition. And those careers over the course of a lifetime will be out-earned by a commercial truck driver, by a diagnostic medical sonographer in the healthcare field, by a welder, and by a two-year degree web developer. So it does play out. So the destination is so important because you can make a better investment in yourself, the time, the money, to get the right education to put you in the place that you want. And you don't have to think that less education automatically equals less lifetime earnings. It doesn't work that way. So now let's talk about the why before I show you the what. Why is career connected learning so important? So this is data that we had before the pandemic. We knew that students became less and less engaged in their education the older they got. Elementary school, everybody's doing stuff, they're playing, they're doing things with their classmates, everybody's all excited, they're outside a lot. And so, pretty high engagement in elementary school. In middle school, it starts to drop off, but look at by high school, students are not feeling engaged in their education because the relevance of what they're learning, they're starting to ask that question that everybody asks. When am I ever going to use this? Why does this matter, right? Well, the first year of the pandemic, McKinsey and Company did a study. Remember, everybody had to, schools were closed. People were transitioning to remote environments, to staying at home to stay safe. And they wanted to understand what was happening. And I'm saying, I want to make sure you understand this. This is the first year. This isn't everything. This is the first year. But what did they find when they were looking at student outcomes after a year of this remote environment? What they saw was that students of color were suffering significantly more learning loss than any other students, 12 to 16 months. But on average, students were losing 10 months or were losing 10 months of learning because the transition to the remote environment was rocky. It works for some students and not others. It was very difficult. But what they also did was quantify that learning loss is going to cost them earning power over the course of their lifetimes. So helping students recover learning loss is economically and academically important. So you can see, on average, the lifetime earnings are anywhere from 61,000 to 82,000 if they stay with that loss. And as a country, it's in the billions of dollars. So we already knew from a study that was done by the National Dropout Prevention Society. They asked a bunch of students who had dropped out of high school, what would have kept you in high school? What could have been done to keep you from making that decision to drop out? The number one thing that a student said was, help me understand, how does this relate to my career or preparing me for a job? The number one, 81%, right? So if I'm focused on career connectedness, then I have an 81% greater chance of keeping that kid in school. You can see family engagement. That is an important contributor as well, as is mentoring. These are all before the pandemic, but they're still true. But I want to show you this. look at the very last, the least effective method. The least effective method to prevent a student from dropping out is to tutor them in the subject they're already struggling with. So if a student isn't doing good in algebra and you go, hey, I'm going to give you 2 more hours of algebra every day, that student who is already experiencing failure may not be willing to put themselves through that. So how do I need to use algebra to prepare me for a career? And it's a game changer to keep students engaged. Career and technical education, incredibly important in this. And I talk about this all the time. A lot of people are thinking, oh, career and technical education is for, my student who's not going into the university to the 4-year degree. That's not true at all. Every single student should be a CTE student because number one, the studies show they graduate at very near 100%. Number two, this study that was done in Connecticut, it showed it increased their GPA. It increased their engagement. That students who are part of a career and technical education pathway, which by the way, are aligned to 21st century careers, graduate high school with hands-on learning, hands-on experience, and employers, by the way, love students who've been a part of career and technical education programs because they know they've got the academic and the experiential learning. So Doña County, about 5.5 years ago, we started on this idea about what would it look like to build a comprehensive approach to workforce development? How could we align all of the systems we have in education, because we're really fortunate. We have a wonderful K-12 system in all 3 districts. We have a community college that fills in all the gaps for middle skills and technical skills. And we have a university that produces 4-year and graduate degree people. Plus now we have a medical school. So what would it look like to comprehensively build the people that we need to drive the economy, because these people have employment opportunities? Well, we knew education was the foundation. Number one, you've got to have good education aligned to these targets to build the talent you need. And if you have the talent you need, then you can attract new business here or grow the existing businesses. And then if you've got economic developing happening, then more jobs are coming. And if more jobs at higher wages are coming into the community, the prosperity of the whole region goes up, everybody wins. And so we focused on industries that were specifically identified for all these economic development plans. Kind of what does Doña Ana County want to be when it grows up? Well, if you've ever driven around Las Cruces and you see a new building, it's probably a healthcare building. Healthcare is an enormous industry here. It's actually the most jobs are healthcare related in the county. But we also have defense, which is tied to aerospace between Spaceport America and White Sands Missile Range and White Sands Test Facility, and all of these private sector commercial space companies that are here. We've got an incredible value added agriculture, historical here, and it's not just growing pecans and chili. It's about commercially processing them, commercially getting them to the store and the opportunities available there. Digital media, which is everything from the film and the film and TV industry that everybody talks about, to cybersecurity and AR and VR and all that kind of stuff. Advanced manufacturing and transportation logistics, multi-billion-dollar industry, because we have the 4th largest border on the U.S.-Mexico, the 4th largest port on the U.S.-Mexico border, and energy in all of its forms. We're in the middle of the Energy Transition Act. We have here in our county, of course, we have electric, and El Paso Electric is an enormous employer, but we also have wind just next door in Deming. We have solar, and we have natural gas. So how do we build a pathway for a student to start to become aware of what's in their backyard? Because we don't have to have our students go find wonderful jobs elsewhere when we have wonderful jobs in our backyard, but maybe they simply don't know. And we did find that to be over and over again a barrier to our talent staying here. And when people talk about brain drain, that's what they're talking about. Career exploration, having the opportunity to get exposed to it. How I take courses that prepare me for those careers, earn credentials, and be ready for employment. So we built the first career pathways in the state for these 8 industry sectors. And some of them are combined. You'll see aerospace and defense are both combined on here. But what we did was we designed it to where what are examples of some jobs that are part of these industries at the lower skilled level, the middle skilled level, the higher skilled level, or entrepreneurism. And if you look at those, the pay scale changes, of course, as you go, but these careers pay more than almost any in our county. And if you look at the top, the green bubbles, those are the educational assets we have already had that students can take advantage of right now to become prepared for these careers. So they can start in high school making these choices. They can make choices at Doñana Community College. They can make choices at New Mexico State. You need to finish high school, and that is an important finish line, but don't let it be the last. Go a little more, go as far as you want, but some level of post-secondary, the more you go, the more these jobs are going to pay you over the long term. And so you see the hands-on experience. How do we expand our opportunities for students for what everybody calls work-based learning now? It could be job shadowing, it could be an internship, it could be apprenticeship. How do we expand those opportunities for students so they really can be in that career and say, this is what I like? And then what's the role of the workforce system to connect people who maybe didn't finish school? Maybe they did, maybe they went to Doñana Community College, took a couple classes and then just kind of stopped. What's their role to get people connected to education and employment opportunities so they become part of our talent pipeline? So we are the first in the state to do this. I know for sure that Wyoming has stolen this idea, but imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So we have these for all 8 of our industries. This is healthcare. This is another example, but I'm going to show you where you can find all of this information. So if you want to build comprehensive workforce development, you have to change everything all at once. And I'm not going to talk about all of this, but I want you to understand that the Bridge of Southern New Mexico and a mission-related committee, essentially, called the Workforce Talent Collaborative, has been bringing all of the resources of our workforce continuum together to create pathways, pipelines, use whatever analogy you want, but to create the systemic alignment so that somebody who grows up in Doñana County has every single thing they need to be successful in the industries, not just these 8, but others, that they would need to be successful. And so I'm going to talk about 2 of the pieces of this comprehensive puzzle. Every single thing you see on here has something that has happened, is happening, or is just about to start. So the first thing I want to talk about is business engagement. So we implemented something that has also never been done in New Mexico. We asked the employers, what do you need? We went to some of the employers I'm using as an example, aerospace. And we said, hey, tell us about your workforce. And we got very specific information. So I had 7 different companies, entities participate in this, and they represent about half of the jobs in the aerospace and commercial space and defense industries here. And so what we learned is, you know what? They don't just hire engineers. They need people in finance. They need people in hospitality and tourism. They need AV people and business people. They need all kinds of people. And our students really weren't aware that if you weren't an engineer, that there were these incredible opportunities here for you. The incomes in this industry tend to be some of the highest in our region. Average income anywhere from the low of 56 to that more than $75,000. We know that sort of what are the non-negotiable skills? What are the skills that you need to be successful? This is part of answering the when am I ever going to need this, or why am I learning algebra? These are the skills that will make sure you are successful. So we can tell students that, but we can tell educators that, so that educators who are part of helping students get access to these skills, they understand their relevance to the student, and the student understands the relevance, and we improve the number of young people who become qualified for the jobs that are here and amazing. We know which degrees they value the most. So if I want to be a part of this industry and I'm going to go get a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, what degree makes me the most employable? We know that. So I'm not going to waste my time and my money getting a degree that isn't sought by local employers in the industry I'm trying to go to. We know what trades matter. which trades are of value. We know that what if I don't, what if I don't have a degree? What if I didn't get a skill? Is there still opportunities for me? Why, yes, there is. And a lot of times you can get on there doing some of these other careers, and there's tuition assistance to help you if you want to move up in the career pathway. So we know things people didn't know before. And so now that we can comprehensively talk about this, how do we change the narrative about what it means to grow up in Doñana County so that people genuinely understand this is one of the best places you could live, because some of the most amazing jobs in the country are actually here. So we started a website, and it's called bridgetocareers.org, and I'll show you just a little bit. All of this information lives there, and I'm going to show you why. This is the what. We're transitioning now from the why to the what. We wanted our students, our families, our teachers to understand the educational to employment ecosystem fully, but there was no one-stop place. There was a million places that you maybe could piecemeal this information together. So thanks to several funders, thanks to the Workforce Talent Collaborative, and just the commitment of the Bridges Board of Directors, we've built this thing that doesn't exist, again, anywhere else in New Mexico. It's a one-stop shop for information about education to employment. And new update, we are working with NMSU to build an on-demand course that will be free through NMSU On Demand that encourages the use of this site to help people figure out their career pathway, and they will be awarded a micro credential at the end. So it's something that you could do on your own. It's something that could be integrated into a class, that a teacher could integrate into a class where students earn micro credentials and bridge to careers. So we're working on that now. I'm gonna stop sharing that, and I'm gonna share one more thing so that you can see it. I'm trying to be mindful of time. So here, let's see, there we go. So here's Bridge to Careers, where everything I just showed you live and more. The most important, I think most usable sections of this website are exploring your roadmap and career pathways. So what we're trying to say, and we genuinely mean this, our people are the greatest assets we have as a community, and investing in them is what we are all about. So by providing information, we can help everyone in our community make really great decisions that help them get where they're trying to go. So, so the way we've structured the website is there's roadmaps, and I'll just focus on two right now. One is resources for students, one is resources for parents. Resources for students is broken into 3 sections, and it's sort of the process, right? Remember what I said about begin with the end in mind and the career destination. So we've given you free tools, tons of opportunity, videos about how to know more about these career destinations. And so if you click here, you'll see some questions, and the answer to that question lies at this link. What educational options are available to me to help me get there? Well, here they are as well. And so again, it's about, here's the simple question, and here's where you might find that answer. And then maybe you need some other supports. And what is the role of the workforce system to help us? Maybe I need transportation. Here's Roadrunner. We've tried to really think comprehensively about this for our students. And it could be a college, student. It could be a K-12 student. For parents want to be good partners in helping their kids make these decisions. So we've built the website to do 2 things. Maybe you are a parent and you want to know more, well, then you can see exploring careers, resources to fund the future. But what if you want to change your own story and your own trajectory? We've set it up for that as well. The Bridge to Careers website is bilingual, by the way. It is, there's a Spanish and English choice up there. I cannot guarantee all the links are in Spanish, but I can guarantee that the entire site is done for all of the residents of Doñana community who speak English or Spanish, so that they have access to the same information. So again, bridgetocareers.org. And with that, I will stop sharing and be open to questions. I am not that good. Somebody has to have a question.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Yes, if anybody has a question, please feel free to raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask it, or you're also welcome to type it in the chat if you would prefer to ask that way.
Wow, you guys are a shy group.
You're
today.
just that good, Tracy.
I have a question.
I doubt that. I doubt that. Oh, yes. Yes, Summer.
I
Yeah.
have a question. So I guess, and this is a big question, so
Sure.
maybe I need to, make it smaller, but what are some like ideas across the spectrum for like, getting on board and helping implement this or helping drive people to this? Like what could be some, activities of this coalition or projects that you might know that are going on that would, that would fit in?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that question. And I wanted to say, Michelle and Tina, thank you for saying that. I genuinely, when people find out this thing is out there, they freak out, right? They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this existed. But so how, let me ask your question differently. How can we systemically get this in people's hands, right? I think, so Ceci is on the call and she works with young parents of young children in the early learning community. How do we make sure that they know that that's available to them? Our teachers that are, probably not as much elementary because it's not really built for elementary. Not that we don't love our elementary students. It just was really focused on that sort of middle to high school to college continuum. How do we get our instructors to be more aware of it and to use it for assignments? It's literally, and that micro credential is going to be something people could integrate into coursework, and it doesn't have to take over a class. It's just small lessons. But how are our students? And this is a real story. I spoke to 120 students at Centennial High School one day. It was like 4 or 5 classes. I asked the students, how many of you know what goes on at White Sands Missile Range? Nobody. I said, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm telling them that, White Sands Missile Range is literally the largest military landmass in the country. There are things that you can do at White Sands Missile Range you cannot do anywhere else in the country. The testing and evaluation that happens there is vital to the nation's defense. But they didn't know that. And I asked another question. I said, how many of you know that we have NASA in our community? 2 students knew, but they had no idea what happened there. And I said, did you know the road to Mars goes through White Sands Test Facility? Meaning every single thing that NASA is doing to take humans to Mars is being tested at White Sands Test Facility. But what we've told our kids for a long time is, oh, there's no jobs here. And that narrative worked against us over the long term, right? So information is power. And so how do families become aware of this? I'm very grateful to El Paso Electric. Remember when everybody was unemployed because people had to close their businesses, and we had, as a state, like 150,000 people who had become unemployed very quickly. Well, El Paso Electric gave us a $20,000 grant to do advertising. So we were able to share that site with the community through radio and print and social media. And we had like a 750% increase in utilization of the site. So I prefer to not have to spend a bunch of money to get it out there. I prefer for people to know that it's there and to share it with their networks. And so through the Workforce Talent Collaborative, through the Bridges Board of Directors, through all of the partners, that we have on this call today, that's how this thing gets in the hands of people and that they know how to use it. And because it is bilingual, that's so important. Because it is bilingual, every single person in our community has access to the same information. And I'll tell one other really quick story. One of the things we supported was teacher externships. Of course, it was the summer before the pandemic, and we haven't been able to do it since, but we had 3 teachers go on site with an employer. One teacher is from Gadsden, and she went to NASA, to White Sands Test Facility, got to see everything that happens out there. She is originally from Mexico. She is a Spanish language speaker, first language, and English second language. She found out that the students that she teaches absolutely could get jobs out there because there's tons of Spanish speaking people that work at NASA, that it isn't a barrier, that, the curriculum she was actually teaching students was actually used, by the employer. So she had this experience and built these relationships that then she can bring to the classroom. And so awareness is everything. And we do have all this wonderful, amazing stuff in our community. But if people aren't aware of it, they just don't know how to take advantage of it, or they think it's beyond their reach. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
And I do thank Engage because they have promoted the website in the past. So thank you guys for getting it out there. We usually have anywhere from 150 to more people use that in a given month. It was like whoosh, off the charts when we had the advertising, and people were looking for, the jobs that were available to them. Any other questions? Yeah, sure.
Well, so I always have questions or thoughts for you. I just wanted to give other people a chance to talk first. So a couple of thoughts. I was hearing what you were saying about, like, ideally this information would get out through our networks, right? Word of mouth.
Right.
And a lot of people around here still do get out around word of mouth. It's still very powerful. But just thinking about, like, how is it that our kids these days, that our students, that our families, like, where are they getting their information from? So think about, like, yes, word of mouth is great. And, like, what are those communications efforts that we need to do to get it, to couple with that, to get it out? But my question for you is just because you asked the question, what needs to change in the system?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when you think about in Doña Ana County and our workforce arena and our educational systems and the districts and our early learning community, like, what systemic changes come to mind for you when you think of, like, how do we really get this information into the hands of the majority of people here in any kind of meaningful way?
It's one of the things that it led me to ask a question a few years ago with Las Cruces Public Schools. How do you systemically communicate with your parents? The answer at the time, and I don't know if it's still true, but the answer at the time was, we don't. Well, that's a challenge, right? And it's not about putting something in a backpack, because everybody knows that doesn't really work. So we've really worked to build awareness through a lot of vehicles, and Engage has been doing that. But what I think the missing component is that we've not quite tackled family engagement. I don't think that anybody is, maybe Cecia, she's probably the bomb. I will say that. But, we've not really figured out how to systemically reach families. And the way that we have a lot of people doing that work, as we crack the nut on that, this is something that we should be, that's the mechanism for getting out there. The 100% community effort that the resilience leaders are doing, right, where they're working with families to help prevent adverse childhood experiences. And there's a whole jobs component of that. How do we embed that in the 100% community work? How do we embed that on the website for the city of Las Cruces, for New Mexico State? And I'm going to answer your question, Tina, in just a second, actually, because that is a very good question. How do we figure out where people go for information? Well, I learned that they go to the radio for information when I did the campaign. So do we need to figure out how to do a community-wide partnership on PSAs, public service announcements? We know people watch TV. Do we need to figure out how to work with, whoever, is it Comcast or whomever, to get this information? And so that, you asked the right question, Lori. Where do people already go to get information? How do we get it in our churches? Did you know we have a high percentage of our families go to church? How do we get this in the faith-based community? So, there's a lot of, it's not about if you build it, they will come. It is about that, where are people going to get information? And we did already know there's a group, it's called Crosstown, and they're sort of like a lot of churches working together on stuff. But we already knew that tons of people go to their pastors because they're having employment issues. Their families, struggling financially or whatever. Well, how do we equip the people that people are already going to with this information? So as you guys continue moving forward with the K-12 continuum, I think we have to figure out who those high value message bearers are and how we connect with them. I don't think I fault myself, right? The bridge when we've had all these opportunities, but for whatever reason, there's certain people who've not carried the message, and we really need to hold one another accountable to get the message out. So, and then Tina, so the Bridge of Southern New Mexico is a nonprofit. We're very unique. There's nobody really like us in the state. Chancellor Arvizu is on our board. So our board composition. Oh, and my office is in the Arrowhead Center, but our board composition is the leadership. And I say that all the time: Chancellor of the University, President of Community College, superintendents of the 3 districts, alongside, you know, the economic development community, Navita and the chamber, alongside the city manager and the county assistant manager before he retired, but we're going to get somebody from the county, and then specific sectors of business. We've had healthcare, we've had engineering, we have banking, we have, I'm trying to think all my business members, we actually have more business than those others. And that's the way the bridge was always designed. It was business-led, education focused. And that way everybody brings their collective resources to the table. So NMSU is a partner in the work. NMSU has, you know, supported the work. And I office at Arrowhead, but I'm a paid customer there. I just want to say that I'm a paid customer of Arrowhead, but and been part of the Arrowhead work, which is, I think, so important to the community. And thank you, you know, Lori, for saying, yeah, radio, you know, where are people getting information? That's where they're getting it. I think a lot of our community is getting it from radio. It's just that it's so disparate. It's not like you can just go with 1 or 2 stations. You've really got a blanket. That's why a public service announcement might be the best way to go.
That's great. Thank you, Tracy.
Sure. Any other thoughts? I do want to give props to some of the folks that, you know, that are really doing new and outstanding work. Community Action Agency took a very early lead on the work here, and they have a Thriving Families pilot. It's actually aligned to a national best practice. And so Community Action Agency has, like, we were just about to launch and then we got the pandemic. So things have changed, but it doesn't mean the work has changed. They've been working with families to kind of get them stabilized. But what the Thriving Families pilot is intended to do is to, you know, take somebody who is wanting to improve their education or wanting to get a better job, wrap the supports around them that they need so that they're able to do that. So, you know, so that's, you know, that's not career connected learning, but it is career connected learning, right? Because if they want to get a job as an X, how do we support them to get the education they need? Even if it's a, you know, if it's a short-term 6-week credential, which it could be, maybe it's a Microsoft Office, you know, class, or they want to get a credential that takes a year or 2 years. There's money available to people, and I think that's another thing that's really I struggle with, is that people think they can't afford whatever, they can't afford college, and it's just not true. It's not in our county, it is just not true. And so how do we make sure that people understand, especially high school students who are looking at college going, I can't afford it? They need to know that isn't the case at all. There's so many resources available to them.
I have a question about the externships. I thought that was a great idea. Are there plans to continue doing those?
There is money, there is plans. Now let's talk about the pandemic. Yes, yes, we want to do more. We actually can fund, I can't remember now if it's 10 or 20. We can fund 10 or 20 tomorrow over the summer, right? What we basically did with the externship was we offered them, I can't remember what it was $500 or $600 for 1 week of their time in the summer to spend a week with the employer. And we had 3 who piloted it in Gadsden. We were working with Las Cruces, but it just took a little too long to get things approved. So we did those 3 in Gadsden, and the outcomes were incredible. And then we were like, next summer, it's going to be 10 or 20. And then sure enough, we had a pandemic and we were not able to. So yes, I have a pot of money I'm holding on to like this because I believe in the externships so very much.
Yeah, I think they're great. Thank you.
Yeah,
what are the ages for them to start that?
The teacher externship?
Oh, the teacher. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Students.
yeah, a student internship. So the student internships run through, those run through the ACE program, and it's academic career experiences at Las Cruces Public Schools. Are you in Las Cruces?
No, my daughter's in the Gadsden district.
Okay, in Gadsden. So the person you want to reach out to is, and how old is your daughter?
She's 16.
Perfect. Reach out to Julian Encina.
Julian Encina.
Yeah,
Okay.
or Jenny Parks. They run the career side of Gadsden District. And so at the time, we had worked with the workforce system. So they will know of some internship opportunities, Jenny and Julian. But then
Okay.
also we could look to explore summer learning and find out what resources would be available to her. There is, depending on income levels, but there is a youth provider of workforce services called YDI in the southern part of the county. And you can go to a workforce connections center or call them to get connected to somebody to see, what opportunities are available that are paid, right? They're paid. And I'm not certain. We've had some changes. We actually had a kind of cool internship that we did with Gadsden, where we had 10 students who went to work for the district over the summer. They were CTE kids, Korean Tech Ed kids, and they took jobs that were aligned to their CTE pathway, and the workforce system paid them to do it. And it's pretty awesome. So I'm not sure if
Yeah,
that's
I did.
happening.
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that last year
Yeah.
in the summer, but she was only 15, so she wasn't able to apply for it. But
Oh, okay.
hopefully we can get her something this summer.
Yeah, that'd be
This
awesome.
summer.
Yeah, start with Julian and Jenny.
Okay.
And if you have, I'm going to put my email in here. Hold on. If you have any problems, questions, you can't get the answers you're looking for, I'm giving you my email
Okay.
so that you can just reach out to me directly and I'll see what I can do to
Okay.
help.
And then as far as parents
Mm-hmm.
going, I am looking for I had to be home because of my kids also, but
Yeah.
because of the pandemic,
Right.
my career has I feel like I'm not advancing, I'm not moving, and I want to I guess probably do a career change or probably find something. So me looking for something, I'm always trying to find something in the community, something that I can grow with. And you guys were talking about NASA and White Sands, and I've always was interested in finding a job in there.
Oh, cool.
I did get my associate's degree. I
Oh,
was
wow.
almost close to getting my bachelor's degree in business administration, business management. But I just need a couple more credits to finish.
Awesome. Do you need any funding to help you with that?
Yeah, I do need some funding. It just stopped in a halt. So I need to progress. So that's why I'm looking, and I'm just seeing what's out there in the community to help me out.
Okay, so I just put in the chat, I put the Bridge
Uh-huh.
to Careers website in there, but I also put Employ NM. You can get there through Bridge to Careers. Employ NM is our local workforce connections centers. And
Okay.
you can reach out to them. Again, it depends on income. If you make a lot of money right now as a family, they may not be able to help you because they're sort of intended to help people who don't. But all I'm saying is you can reach out to them and you can access someone to talk to. And then career exploration or jobs that are available, you can access that on the Bridge to Careers website.
Okay.
If you look under I think it's under the career exploration. Let me just double check really quick. I'm going to share screen so that we can find it together. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Let's see. So I'm going to say parents. I'm trying to make sure I know where this is. Looking for a job. This is Employing New Mexico Job Seekers. Okay. And so if you click on that, you're going to want to, create your own login, see how it's like.
Oh, okay. Have to create my own login. Okay.
Yeah, create a little login, but okay, so I'm a job seeker. Let's see. There's another way to do this that is, I'm going to do something else. Okay, so, and I'll put this in the chat here in a second. This is the state workforce system. And so if I'm a job seeker, and it says find a job, start your job search. You can also go there. That's the state system. You can also go there to look and just localize your search by, Doña County. But you will, again, they want you to log in because the reason you want to log in and not do things as a guest is it doesn't save the information. If you log in, then it saves the information so that you can grow. But here, I'm gonna put what I just am looking at right now in the chat and stop sharing my screen. Okay, so that's the DWS website. So that will allow you to look for jobs like with White Sands. By the way, I learned this. If you look on there for jobs specifically at White Sands, just to see if you qualified for them, you have to put the location as White Sands Missile Range or White Sands, just put White Sands. And then when it says like a distance radius, put 0. It's the only way you can narrow it down to that. But you could, you can do it by Las Cruces or Doña County or whatever you want, and you can find out what jobs are available. But there's, I mean, if you've got a 2-year degree in business, there's lots of, like, I don't know if you've thought about healthcare, but they're always needing people. And I know if you're down in the southern part of the county, some of them, I say this all the time, some of the employers in Texas are a whole lot closer, but you're still pretty well qualified for some, for some great jobs there on that west side of El Paso as well.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah. Yeah. And if you
okay.
want to look at, okay, hold on. I'm going to give you one more thing. If you want to look to see what jobs, I have to look this up because I don't know it off the top of my head. If you want to look for jobs that are over there, their workforce, here we go, their workforce website, which you would be able to look for jobs on that side of town, is here. So there you go.
Okay, let me get that down.
Sure. Oh, Ryan Superhero Steinmetz coming in. Summer Youth Internship Program throughout the county. That was a good program. I think 500 kids got jobs or 600 kids. Is that right, Ryan?
I think maybe a little bit less, but this year they're trying to go up to 700. And so it is
Sweet.
countywide, and all of the monies are coming through the county to be distributed or to youth that are participating across a lot of different organizations throughout the entire county. So Lorraine, it sounded like you had a 16-year-old, which is the age group that they're really targeting for these internship opportunities.
That's awesome.
I have no idea who the contact is through Gadsden School District, but
it would be Julian and Jenny. So you could talk about that as well.
Yeah.
Do I ask for them at the Gadsden District, or do I talk to the counselor?
Well, let me, hold on, I can look this up. Isn't this great? This is so personal. We just get to answer your questions and give you direct links to people. After school activities are canceled because of high winds.
Yes, it is. I gotta go pick up my kids right now, but I want all my 3 kids engaged. I have an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. I have them in the after school program with NMSU.
Oh,
I
awesome.
went to NMSU. I really want to help the community as well with moms that need help too. Like I've also been in the Engage program. I know I saw the lady that is in the program, or she's a
Cecia.
I was in that program when my babies were little. Like I just try to help the community too, and I'm always trying to find things to do, and I'm always on social media, like, getting into the programs, into these what you're doing right now. And I found it says on Facebook, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to jump on right now. I need to jump on. But this is awesome that you're doing this. I love this. Like I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. It's COVID, and we can't really be out there like really that much right now. Like, this is so perfect.
Oh, well, good. Well, I just put it's the main office phone number, but he's out of the administrative office on McNutt. And so that's the phone number for the main number. And then that is his email address as well. So you can get that.
I appreciate it so much.
Sure.
And my daughter, she's getting her permit right now. So
yay.
Yeah,
independence.
Her permit, and oh my God. It's gonna go good for her, and she wants to work in the summer, so this will help her for me to get it started and stuff like that.
Well, and just I appreciate speaking as a mom of a former 16-year-old who's now 30, I just want you to know the fear factor only lasts a couple of days. I just want you to be prepared.
That's good. No, she'll do good. She'll do good as long as Mama's here to help and open those doorways for her.
Awesome. Well, if there's ever, I'll give you my email. If there's ever anything else you need, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yes, I wrote everything down. Thank you. I appreciate it, Tracy. I appreciate it
Sure.
so much.
Very, very good. I'm glad. This was excellent.
Yeah, it really was. I know we got to be careful of time and kind of wrap things up here with any final closing comments, but that was, yeah, that was a really good example, Tracy, of how, like, you know, how important it is to connect people in the moment, and also for people to see, like, what does it mean for someone when they're looking for resources and they're trying to
Right.
get point A to point B to point C. So that was really beautiful.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Well, and so it's, and almost everything is on Bridge to Careers, right? That was the whole point. If you can read a question, you'll get to the link. But I will say that we had a little insider intel on Julian and Jenny Park, so that was good.
It does help.
Great, 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 great. Good, good, good. So we have 1 minute to spare. And this was so great. And so I know that there's a few people that registered that could not come. So I'm going to be sending out, Michelle's taking notes for us today, and I'm going to go ahead and send those notes out along with the recording. And so that'll be coming out. We have another community learning session next week on Thursday. And so I just popped the link in the chat for that meeting. That's going to be with the Learning Action Buffet with a youth panel for youth advocating. It's going to be really good. So tell your friends, and you can sign up here if you want. So the notes for this session will come out after that session goes. So you can look for these notes and recording on or about next Friday.
Fantastic. Thank you, Summer. And thank you, Michelle, for taking notes. All right. Well, I think that's it. The one thing I just want to wrap up with is that, you know, I hope you all are getting as much out of these sessions as we are. This is wonderful information, and it shows us really, you know, we have so many amazing community experts and people doing great work just locally here. So, you know, I hope this is edifying for everyone, but also we want people to be thinking about this and thinking about, you know, what they're learning and how we might be applying it in our community. And as a lot of you know, we've launched the K through Career Coalition for the Success Partnership. But in terms of really concrete next steps, what we're going to be engaging in next is a more intensive strategic planning process, because we want to see the rubber hit the road, you know, in terms of we really need to have our K-12 and our post-secondary and our workforce arenas integrated and talking to each other. And so, you know, some of these community learning sessions are also in the interest of that. It's learning the information, but then what do we do with it next? So please keep an eye out for that. And thank you everybody so much for coming today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Great to see you.
You too. Thanks, Tracy.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.